Okay, so I'm here, not doing a Facebook Live, actually trying to just do some content in regards to some shorts that I just did that were from at tonight's conversation. And so if you go to the short, this conversation might make a little bit more sense. I'm not sure if I can kind of show and play the video that I have on the short that I did a collab with.
I can hide in the house with a woman I no longer want to be married to is in my basement.
So that's kind of the beginning of it, just so that I don't know if there's copyright infringement since it's not attached. But again, that's at tonight's conversation. And it's about a husband who wants to spend his time in the basement, which is really funny. I posted this short and I already had a comment saying, well, I prefer to be single. And yeah, that's great. Be single. Don't be married and go hide in the basement instead of having, partner detailed conversations with the person you decide to spend your life and or your time with if you decide to just even live with them. So again, I want to open up some of these conversations mostly for people. This channel is really for people who are on their wellness journey, to elevate themselves, to achieve a certain amount of ascension, to not live in their root or base chakras, to actually learn something about yourself. Again, if you want to be single, that's great. And you can also live a very elevated, ascended life. You can level up being single. Nobody said anybody has to be married. Although when we were growing up, a lot of us as women were told that. And I don't know if you've seen it before. I think I've recorded with my red light therapy on. I use that a lot, especially today. It's pretty overcast, so it does tend to elevate my mood to have kind of the mimic of sunlight. So I really have become kind of attached to my red light therapy. And for those of you following my wrist journey, I really do think it's helping. I have a lot more mobility, even though it still looks like maybe not, and there's still some swelling, but it's way better. So I can actually kind of almost make a fist. Still not quite right, but it's getting there. So thank you for all of those of you who have sent out prayers and thoughts and really looking for my healing. I know it's done and I know it's amazing, and I'll be posting some things about that, because throughout this whole thing I've been told that I need surgery, and I really have been finding content and going into meditation and the void and the darkness to find the truth about what's really needed for my wrist to heal. And really it's just my pure belief and patience getting through this. So the first x-ray was very promising. I'm really interested to see what happens when I do the second x-ray. And yeah, I'm gonna rock this out. I've already started massaging with this hand a little bit, not a whole lot, because I don't want to overdo it. But yeah, back to again, if you watched the short, I did 3 parts because it was almost 3 minutes, so the shorts were like 60 seconds long. But yeah, and so both the woman on there is Kitty. I don't know the gentleman's name. I catch them from time to time. They seem to have some really good relationship advice sometimes not so much, in my opinion, but sometimes it's very helpful. And I happen to have gone through or been with someone who used the silent treatment and avoidance and going downstairs to watch TV the whole entire night or day, in order not to deal and interact with me as his spouse. So I went through a lot of mental discomfort and confusion. It's just pure confusion when the person that you love or that you thought loved you, can just instead of dealing with issues straightforward, just to opt to not speak. And I really would have been better off and okay if he had said, no, that's not the kind of person I am. I don't like to have conversations. We should just by osmosis connect and everything should be okay. And if it's not like that, I don't want to be with you. Like, I would have much preferred that than the big toxic mess that it became in the end, because I lost a lot of myself and a lot of time. Although, I'm also thankful and grateful that those experiences shape us, and I learned a lot about myself during that time. Even though I didn't know it at that particular juncture, I did a lot of like screaming and beating the floor and crying and not sleeping, and a lot of different emotions that I went through trying to figure out why my life was in such shambles from this person that promised me that he wanted to take care of me and take care of his children and stand on his head to make sure I was happy. But yeah, we'll get more into that in, It's a Wellness Thing, especially for those of you that are maybe going through that, or maybe you just connected with someone who might have these propensities, to ignore you or silence you. It's very not healthy. Let's say that, for those of you who think that, and in the beginning, that was a lot of what I did, and the stories kind of all go the same, that a lot of us that are empathic, because we see the best in people, we think, they'll warm up to us or it'll get better, and it's not as bad as we think. And then boom, like you're in the midst of committing yourself to this person, and then you let those little things, those little daily, weekly, monthly digs and takeaways from your spirit, you let them accumulate. And it becomes very, very difficult to maintain and elevate and enjoy the things you used to enjoy, because you're always second guessing yourself. So if you are someone that, is not quite in that kind of relationship and tied to someone with a piece of paper, I caution you. And, this is just one part of this channel, which is to talk about all things wellness, but also to help people recognize some of what's going on in the world right now, because a lot of us that have been through this, we're like, what is it? Is it in the water? Is it in the air? It's like there's this pervasiveness of, and there's no other way to say it, but when you get into it and you really dissect it and you break it all down, it's super evil. It's super evil because it is literally trying to erase another person completely erase their sensibilities of themselves, their self-esteem, their self-worth. And it becomes very easy for them to do because, again, when you have time in, I know why now that I accepted that behavior. Most of us get with people like this is because we understand it. We grew up like that. That was our normal. It was my normal life for my father to degrade my mother. And then you say, I'll never get with someone like that. But the problem is when they're presented to you in their mask and their love bombing and their sheer attention, you think it's a really good thing you're like, hey, and then the first time you have a problem, you've already committed yourself to them in some way. You've already stated that, in either verbally or just internally, that this is the person that you want to spend time with or that you love. Like, it's very difficult to disconnect from that. And then, let's not add to it children and all of those things, and how people end up in these relationships for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, in my case, 19 years, 20 years, 30 years, 36 years. There's still some people that are in their 40th and 50th years getting divorced, which, it's mind-boggling. And even the ones that get out in the 50th year, they feel like they've escaped. And even though they have, however many years left of their life, they feel like it's worth it to have gotten out to, like, experience at least a couple years, a few years, 10 years of their life as a free person. And it really is bondage. There's so many terms that I've come to face that I felt in that dynamic. And it's not until you get out that you really understand the different levels of insanity and control and manipulation that you lived under. So this is just one guy, going into the basement, ignoring his wife. If I recall correctly, months. It was months. 4 months, was it? I'll have to listen to it again. But that's unacceptable. The person I am now and the person I was then, back when, I probably would have said, well, it's probably better for their marriage and it'll make them last longer. And no, that's abuse. It's abuse to straight up ignore your spouse, your partner. There's a lot of insidious behaviors that are going to come out of this man spending time in the basement, just being on his phone, playing games, watching TV, calling friends, and not interacting with the person he chose to be with. So some people may disagree, some may not. Hopefully people that are in my tribe and resonate with this channel will be the ones that interact with me the most. I will, probably in future, because it's, there's some very controversial topics when it comes to narcissistic abuse and psychotic behavior that triggers a lot of people out there that are those people. And so they tend to come on channels where we're discussing them. So I may have to do a Patreon at some point, but I also want, if you are that person that is toxic and causes a lot of pain to your spouse or your partner or your friends or your children or your mother or your father, I invite you to, jump into the conversations and maybe learn a little something about yourself, because there are some toxic narcissists, psychotics that, get into therapy and really do learn about who they are. Now, I'm not a therapist. This isn't therapy. I'm not a doctor. This does not substitute for medical advice. So if you find that in the conversations there's an understanding that that might be who you are and who you be, and you want to go, explore finding the appropriate help to get yourself out of those cycles, and that's awesome. Because my main goal is to alert people that are, just looking to be in really loving, healthy relationships and end up in something completely different because the kind of person that they got with completely broadsided them. So that's how that cookie crumbles. So I'm really committed to posting the content. I really do like the lives, but I don't have the subscribership and the followers yet. So as that grows, I definitely will do more lives. I think I'm going to keep to a schedule of 2 lives a week, and then I'll post content and shorts. And, mostly it will be highlighting and collabing with other videos that resonate with what I'd like to speak about. And I do have a plan to post a short on liquiditarian and breatharians, because I have someone, a subscriber, that asked about that. Again, that's probably something I'm not gonna do for any length of time, but as I've been looking into it and researching a little bit, I may want to do it for a week or two just to reset my system in a different way than what my fasting does. So yeah, it's not totally off the table. So I've gone a little longer than I normally do. I hope you're enjoying the content. I hope you like the shorts. Again, those are kind of necessary to kind of chime in on this conversation. I would love your interaction. Comments would be awesome, especially really detailed, helpful comments on what you really think, or if you've experienced any of this. And if you're on that journey to elevate yourself from having been torn down by someone, my red light just went off, being torn down by someone that has all but destroyed your sense of self. So I am sitting here in the knowledge and the thoughts that you are going to fully heal yourself and get yourself back, and at some point be completely on top of the world and be the person that you've always been meant to be, and then some, because with all I've been through, I am grateful that I've learned some things, and I am I'm sure a much stronger person than I was strong already, but that I'm a much stronger person from all the things that I was subject to. So it's a wellness thing, let's talk about it. And any topic that has to do with health and wellness, and those are so many things that affect us in the world. No topic is off subject, so off the table. Not off subject. No subject is off the table. I'm talking backwards. And I can't wait to actually see names and faces through subscribers at some point. And I hope you have an awesome day. Bye.